The Girl Who Painted Dreams. In a quiet little village, far beyond the rolling meadows and whispering woods, lived a girl named Amara. She had eyes as bright as morning dew and hair that glimmered like the last rays of sunset. But what made Amara truly special wasn't her appearance. It was her gift. Amara could paint dreams. When she was only 6 years old, she discovered her secret. One night, after helping her grandmother bake bread, she dreamed of a field filled with stars that swayed like golden flowers. When she woke, her paintbrush on the table beside her glowed softly in the early dawn light. Curious, she dipped it into a jar of blue paint and began to draw what she'd seen. The moment the brush touched the paper, something magical happened. The stars in her painting shimmered and moved. The picture came alive. From that morning on, Amara painted every dream she remembered, each one glowing with magic. Some were joyful, some mysterious, but all were beautiful. Amara lived in a small town called Lunara, where people had forgotten how to dream. The adults worked from dawn until dusk, the children studied without laughter, and even the artists painted only what they were told to. No one looked at the stars anymore. No one wished on them. One evening, as Amara went to the well to fetch water, she looked around and noticed how dull everything had become. The sky above was brilliant and full of stars, but everyone kept their eyes on the ground. Even the baker, who once told her stories about the moon, now only talked about bread and business. That night, Amara sat by her window and whispered to the stars, "Why has everyone stopped dreaming?" The stars twinkled back but gave no answer. So Amara decided to do something wonderful. If no one in Lunara could dream anymore, she would share hers with them. The next morning, she carried her paints and easel to the town square. People stopped to watch, puzzled. "What are you doing, little one?" asked Mr. Doven, the blacksmith. "I'm going to paint dreams," Amara replied with a smile. The townsfolk laughed softly. "Dreams? Who has time for dreams?" one woman said. But Amara didn't answer. She dipped her brush into the paint and began to work. Her hands moved with a rhythm that came from somewhere deep within. Swirls of silver and blue filled the canvas. A great shining moon resting over a hill, surrounded by tiny glowing fireflies. When she finished, she whispered, "Let the dream begin." A soft wind blew through the square, and the painting began to shimmer. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the fireflies lifted out of the canvas and floated into the air. They danced above the crowd, glowing like tiny lanterns. The children laughed and clapped, while even the tired adults stood in silent wonder. For the first time in many years, the people of Lunara looked up and dreamed again. From that day forward, Amara painted for the whole town. Each morning she brought her easel to the square, and each night her paintings came alive. One day she painted a rainbow bridge, and colorful ribbons fluttered across the rooftops. Another day she painted a great cloud whale, and people swore they saw its white shape drifting lazily through the sky. Slowly Lunara began to change. Flowers bloomed brighter. People smiled more. The world seemed full of color again. But not everyone was happy. At the far edge of town lived Master Verek, the schoolteacher, a man who believed dreams were foolish and dangerous. He thought magic made people lazy. When he heard about Amara's paintings, he grew furious. "Nonsense," he shouted to his students. "Dreams don't feed the hungry or mend broken roofs. They're useless." One afternoon, as Amara was painting a meadow full of singing birds, Master Verek marched into the square. "Enough," he bellowed. "You're filling people's heads with foolishness. Your tricks are lies." Amara looked up calmly. "They're not lies," she said softly. "They're hope." "Hope doesn't fix broken homes," Verek said. "You will stop this at once. Dreams are for sleeping, not for living." Amara smiled sadly. "Then maybe that's why you've forgotten how to dream." Verek turned red with anger and stormed away. But that night when he lay in bed, her words echoed in his mind. Forgotten how to dream. Forgotten how to dream. For the first time in years he could not sleep. The next morning, Amara woke to a terrible surprise. Her paints had turned dull. Her brush had lost its glow. She tried to paint, but nothing happened. No shimmer, no movement, no magic. She ran outside to the square, but the sky above Lunara was gray again. The ribbons were gone. The laughter had vanished. The world had turned silent. What happened to the colors? A little girl cried. Where did the dreams go? I don't know, Amara whispered. Maybe they're gone for good. That night, she sat by her window once more, staring at the stars. Why did you take my gift away? She asked softly. For a long time the sky was quiet. Then one star glimmered brighter than the rest, and a gentle voice filled the air. Dreams are not meant to belong to one person alone, it said. If you want your magic to return, you must teach others to dream too. Amara thought about those words until dawn. Then she knew what she had to do. The next morning, she didn't bring her paints to the square. Instead, she brought dozens of little brushes, jars of color, and pieces of canvas. We're going to paint together, she told the children who gathered around her. But we don't know how, one boy said shyly. You don't need to know, Amara smiled. Just paint what you see when you close your eyes. The children hesitated at first, but soon one girl painted a pink moon made of candy. A boy painted a ship sailing across the stars. Another painted his lost puppy, wagging its tail. When they were done, Amara asked everyone to close their eyes again and whisper a wish into their painting. A breeze stirred the air. Then, just like magic, colors began to shimmer and the dreams came alive. The candy moon floated above the rooftops, glowing softly. Starry ships sailed across the clouds. The little boy's painted dog jumped down from the canvas, wagging its tail before curling up at his feet. The square was filled with laughter again. Parents ran to see, their eyes wide in amazement. The magic had returned, not because of Amara alone, but because everyone was dreaming together. Even Master Verek came to the square that day. He stood at the edge, watching silently as the sky filled with painted wonders. For a long time he said nothing. Then, slowly, he stepped forward and picked up a brush from the table. I once dreamed of flying, he said, almost to himself. Amara smiled and handed him a pot of paint. Then paint it. With trembling hands, Verek began to draw wings, great feathery wings that shone like starlight. When he finished, the painting shimmered, and from the canvas rose a giant bird, spreading its wings and soaring above the village. The crowd cheered and tears filled Verek's eyes. I'd forgotten, he whispered. I'd forgotten what it felt like to believe. That night, the people of Lunara gathered in the square under a sky alive with colors and shapes. Moons, stars, birds, and dreams of every kind. The village glowed softly with warmth and wonder. Amara sat quietly, her brush resting on her lap, no longer glowing, because it didn't need to. The magic wasn't in the brush anymore. It was in everyone. She looked up at the stars and for the first time she saw them smiling down. Thank you, she whispered, for helping me share the dreams. And somewhere high above, the stars whispered back, dreams are meant to be shared, little painter. And tonight the whole world dreams with you. The night settled gently over Lunara, wrapping the town